Years ago, I was at this show. My band was headlining our CD release party. We were waiting for the opener to set up their gear, and I remember these two guys coming into the venue. They were both probably somewhere around 20 years old, and they each had these big tubs of protein powder with them. I think it was the old bodybuilding.com favorite gold standard. I remember when those two walked in, my bass player and I looked at each other like, wait a second. We were both still relatively new to lifting ourselves at that point, and I think we still had a lot of that youthful enthusiasm about it, usually only seen by those who have learned just enough to feel motivated, but not enough to get into trouble, not enough to start believing we actually had any real idea about any of it, or conversely to start wrongly setting up walls in our minds for what is or isn't possible. I think we knew it was a bit funny they had tubs of protein with them at a rock concert, but at the same time, being relatively new, I think we both had a decent amount of curiosity about it. Should we also have tubs of protein with us? It turned out those two were close friends with my drummer, and I got the chance to talk with them about those tubs of protein. They had them because, as you probably rightfully guessed already, they were obsessed with building muscle. They thought a constant supply of protein was necessary, and they didn't want to go even an hour without getting some. Extreme protein intake aside, what I remember most about them, the reason for this story, was their motivation. They didn't actually care much about bodybuilding in general. All they wanted was to build big triceps. They were so amped up about getting that horseshoe look because, in their words, triceps make you punch harder. From talking with them, it was clear they were kind-hearted. I don't think they actually wanted to go around punching people. I suppose they were caught up in that dream many of us have at one point or another. You're walking down the street and someone tries to jump you and your friends, or your family, maybe your girlfriend, but little did they know they just walked up on a professional. Like the quiet kid in a bullies get what they deserve kind of YouTube video, they had that fantasy of building punching power so strong they could fight off any attacker. Anyway, after that conversation, I kept an eye on those two for the remainder of the show. It was hard not to. Every 10 to 20 minutes, they'd take turns holding the tubs of protein while the other repped out a set of diamond push-ups, because they had heard somewhere that diamonds are the best way to build the triceps and to get that punching power. I never thought too much about those guys or diamond push-ups after that. It wasn't long after that show before I ended up deep in the powerlifting, deadlift-focused rabbit hole and became too good to pay much mind to a basic bodyweight exercise like a diamond push-up. I was a lifter, not some beginner bodyweight calisthenics guy after all. Over the years since then, I worked with diamond push-ups occasionally, but they never took center stage. They were always just a variation I'd throw in when I felt like it. Well, that changed a few months ago when I finally gave the exercise an honest chance. Over this last year, I went completely 100% all in on sandbags and calisthenics circuit training. After a few months of that, it became clear I'd need more bodyweight exercises to work with. If I was going to keep it up, I needed more variations of the basic movements, and the diamond push-up was the perfect choice. Slowly, as the weeks went by, I started spending more time with it, and before long, it became a regular part of at least 3 out of every 5 training days. Now that I've given the movement a real chance, as I seem to keep finding out with so many different things, those excited kids with the tubs of protein powder were right. Over and over, that stuff we're told is only useful for beginners, like basic bodyweight ab training or anything outside the realm of optimal in terms of modern scientific thinking, ends up actually being useful at all experience levels. Just because something is beginner-friendly doesn't mean it isn't valuable to someone who isn't a beginner. Diamond push-ups really do build the triceps better than most things I've tried. The exercise works. First, let's briefly discuss how to do a diamond push-up. It's a very simple movement. Get into a basic push-up position, bring your hands together so they form a diamond shape, and start repping away. If you can, bring your hands all the way together so your index fingers and thumbs from each hand are touching, but if that's too much stress on your wrists, keeping your hands an inch or two apart works great too. The most difficult part to master with the exercise is torso positioning. It's very easy to extend the low back and allow the hips to sag during the movement. If you don't actively focus on preventing that, you'll most likely do it without even realizing it. To combat this, I've found that maintaining somewhat of a hollow body position works best. I like to focus on keeping my shoulders at least partly protracted and engaging my glutes and abs while maintaining a slight curve in my body so my hips are slightly above the rest of me. If you try it this way, keep in mind you'll need to lift your chin up at the bottom of every rep to maintain the position. This places much more tension on the triceps, and you might be surprised by how difficult this basic bodyweight exercise becomes. Now let's talk about muscle activation. Individual body shape has a lot to do with which muscles get worked most during an exercise. My triceps and shoulders take over when doing basic push-ups, but others are the opposite and feel them mostly in the pecs. Everybody's different. What I found with diamonds, for me at least, is they shift more tension onto the triceps while actually increasing muscle activation in the chest too. This might be surprising considering many recommend using a wider grip to engage the chest more, but I found the close grip significantly increases chest engagement. The top position contraction is intense, especially in the middle part of the chest, near the sternum where the pecs meet. If you want to double down on this, I recommend fully protracting your shoulders at the top of every rep. The first time you try it, you'll see what I mean. As I said, everyone's different, but in addition to the added tricep involvement, if you have trouble building your pecs with basic push-ups, the diamond variation might be worth your time. I shouldn't be, but honestly I'm surprised by how much the exercise has done for me. I've never been much of a presser, I'll admit to that. I like pressing, but I've always been more of a back and leg specialist. I like heavy power-based movements. I don't think anything is more badass than a massive upper back, and because of that, my triceps have never been a strong point, especially the lateral head, which is responsible for that horseshoe look. Well, since I started doing high volume diamond push-ups, I get it now. I can feel the horseshoe on my arms when I flex more than I ever could before, and my arms almost look impressive now when doing certain exercises. Now that I've experienced for myself how much of a difference building up the triceps really does make, how much they add to everything else, making you look significantly more jacked overall, I don't plan on ever stopping the high volume diamond push-ups. I still have a ways to go, but it's always exciting when you find a way to unlock some new gains. Now let's discuss how to use diamond push-ups in your program, or at least how I've been doing it. First, what I'll say about diamonds, they're great as a middle ground exercise. They're not nearly as easy as basic push-ups, but they're still not too advanced. They can fit pretty much anywhere in a training day. This is a big step up from basic push-ups, which are almost always too easy unless you plan on going for ultra-high reps. In the context of a circuit, for example, basic push-ups will be too easy for most people when using a 4 to 5 exercise setup, which is what I typically recommend, because you'll have trouble ever reaching true failure. Basic push-ups usually only work in a circuit with 2 to 3 exercises max, but diamonds are just hard enough to fit in those longer circuits. To quickly explain this in a bit more detail, a 4 to 5 exercise circuit with each exercise focused on a different movement pattern allows for just enough intra-set rest between when you do an exercise and when you return to it for you to recover just enough to keep going, but not so much that you lose the muscle and strength building effects that come with staying close to failure. This only works if every exercise is at the same relative difficulty level, or at least somewhat close in terms of difficulty. Most people will find diamond push-ups, or decline diamonds, something we'll cover soon, are a perfect fit. If you don't like circuits and you prefer straight sets, you probably have some gains waiting for you too. If you can't yet rep out a basic set of 30, maybe 35 reps, just work at increasing that number and the muscle will follow. If you're past that point, there are a few things you can do to make the exercise more manageable, so you don't need to spend all day trying to hit failure with ultra high reps. Going back to the circuit idea, or if you don't like that word, you can think of this in terms of giant sets. Something I've been doing a lot is pairing diamonds with another, more intense pressing exercise. Diamond push-ups directly after pike push-ups, as an example. In this way, if the diamonds aren't difficult enough on their own, the cumulative fatigue is enough to get you to failure. There's a lot of potential here too. Something crazy I've been doing recently is Tyson push-ups directly into bent knee pike push-ups, directly into decline diamond push-ups. Needless to say, the pump and subsequent soreness is next level. Another great way to use diamond push-ups is with AMRAP sets, as many reps as possible. On their own, they might be difficult to consistently push to failure when using basic sets, but if you extend a set far enough, everything changes. An example I used in my forest training program video is to set a timer for 10 minutes and do as many diamond push-ups as you can in that time. 10 minutes doesn't take much, if any, more time to complete than doing a basic 3 sets to failure with average rest times would. And by using the AMRAP approach, you push so far beyond failure so many times, the growth signal to the muscles is unavoidable. Set the timer for 10 minutes, or however long you'd like, do as many reps as you can, rest as needed between reps, and keep pushing until the time's up. Next workout, try to do at least 1 more rep. This is guaranteed muscle growth. Finally, for you beasts out there who are legit too strong for the basic diamond push-up, it's worth trying the decline version. Elevating your feet 12 inches or so adds a layer of difficulty that's hard to describe. This simple tweak shouldn't change the exercise so much, but it does. If you can rep out 30 basic diamond push-ups, good luck getting 15 with your feet elevated. The main thing to note with this variation, similar to the standard version, is you'll want to focus most of your attention on maintaining that hollow body position. It's even easier to let your hips sag as a way to compensate for the difficulty with this one. The decline diamond push-up also comes with the added benefit of hitting the upper chest better than possibly anything else. If you watched calisthenics YouTube maybe 5 years ago, you'll remember decline diamonds were all the rage for a while there. Many of the calisthenics guys making videos at that time credited the decline diamond push-up with the majority of their upper chest growth, and they had the muscle to back it up too. It's a shame you don't hear the exercise talked about much these days. And of course, if everything else fails, if even the decline diamond push-up is too easy for you, you can always add weight. And there you have it. If you had discredited the basic diamond push-up as too easy, as unworthy of your time, as something useful only to those beginners new enough to believe carrying around tubs of protein powder would actually help them build muscle faster, then maybe it's time you give it another try. If you're looking for a program that features the diamond push-up, consider checking out my book, Sandbag Hypertrophy, over on Amazon. Link below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.